Let's bring in NewsNation national security contributor Tracy Walder, former FBI agent, former CIA agent. Tracy, thank you so much for joining us on this. Okay, we're now at this point almost 2.5 hours into an active situation. What is likely happening right now as we take a live look there on campus?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I think the first order of business is obviously neutralizing the threat. That is really the first thing that they need to do. Otherwise, we could be looking at more injuries, more loss of life. That would be priority number one, is isolating that threat or neutralizing that threat. The second thing that they're doing is in an orderly fashion, evacuating these buildings and evacuating the campus as a whole to secure it and ensure that those with injuries are then tended to. So those are really the two areas of focus right now.
And Tracy, we are hearing reports of a person of interest who is now in custody. We are working to confirm that. But when we take a live look out there, things do seem relatively calm. And I say that knowing, obviously, this is a fluid situation. Obviously, this is a very serious situation. We don't know yet the extent of injuries, if there are injuries. However, we are 2.5 hours in. We're seeing what appears, obviously, a huge presence, big law enforcement presence there, but we're not seeing running. We're not seeing chaos. What does that tell you?
I think that tells me two things. I think, first of all, that law enforcement and UNC as a whole has done clearly a very good job of walking their students, faculty, staff through what procedures are in place and what procedures will be followed. Really, it's all about practicing this, and it's all about understanding and having clear guidelines about what to do. And this is clearly a community and a school that knows what to do. I mean, look, you're talking about locking down really a small city, because that's what this is. You've got about 30,000 students here. And so that's what they're doing. And so I think that really part of the reason that it's calm is what you are seeing mostly is the outer perimeter. There are going to be multiple perimeters that have been set up, obviously the closest being around the building itself. That's where things may seem a bit more chaotic, although I doubt that they are so. But we are seeing the outermost edges of that perimeter. And so the reality is a lot of, I guess, the running, things like that. Most of those folks have probably already been cleared from campus at this point, but I would suspect there's multiple perimeters in a school of this size.
Well, and we know, because we were speaking just before this with a former FBI agent as well, just talking about the drills, talking about these situations that law enforcement put themselves through, that students go through. Kind of just walk us through some of these law enforcement drills and these student drills, because I know you have a daughter, because we're seeing the importance of those drills when it comes to these real life situations.
So, and that's a great question, Nichole. First, the one thing I want to say is actually it's important to have consistency, that we do them across the board. Yes, I have a daughter and they do drills at her school, but I'm actually also a college professor. We don't do drills at our school. And so, yes, we have an alert system, but we don't necessarily know what to do should something like this happen. And so it needs to be across the board. Clearly, UNC and Chapel Hill and the area surround it have a plan in place, and creating sort of a muscle memory, or slogans like locks, lights, out of sight, which is what's primarily used in schools, is actually extremely critical, because just as important as law enforcement is to responding to these threats, it's actually incredibly important that students, victims, actually have that muscle memory in place to respond to these things in an appropriate manner.
Tracy, you brought up such a good point there, because as you said, it is important for people to know. And if you went to a school that didn't do the drills and something like this, God forbid, happens, you do need to know what will happen. Okay, we're in a fluid situation. Tracy, stick around. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.